Hi guys, good evening to all of you. Welcome back to my channel. And today I am going to prepare a video on one of the most important topic, that is about the completion of 50 years of independence of Bangladesh. As we all know that recently on 16th December 2021, Bangladesh completed the 50 years of independence. So on this topic I am going to discuss today. So let's start. On 16th December 1971, Pakistan surrendered, giving independent India its greatest military victory and creating the new nation of Bangladesh. 50 years on looks back at the decisive battles and heroic feats that shaped the war, the lessons learned from it, how India, Pakistan and Bangladesh have fared since then, and what the future holds for the three. And now I am going to discuss about how 1971 showed that the two nation theory based on faith was bound to fail. There are some images that remain firmly etched in the collective imagination of the nation. The photograph of Lieutenant General Jagjit Singh Arora looking on as Pakistan's General A.A.K. Nizi signs the instrument of surrender in Dhaka, as it was then called, on 16 December 1971, is one of them. In just 7 months, beginning with the Pakistan Army's crackdown on the unrest in East Pakistan in March 1971, to its shamefaced surrender that formalized the creation of a sovereign Bangladesh, the history and geography of the Indian subcontinent was dramatically recast. The initial draft of history is written by the participants. However, the history that is bequeathed to subsequent generations is more rounded and based much more on information that wasn't available to all the participants. 50 years after the emphatic Indian victory, it is possible to construct a penultimate version of the events of 1971, stretching to the Shimla Agreement between Indira Gandhi and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in mid-1972. The version is bound to be penultimate because until the archives in Pakistan are opened to complement the rich collection of official documents, private papers and personal recollections available in India, Bangladesh and the United States, there will always be gaps in our historical understandings. The squeamishness in Pakistan over the events in 1971 that led to the separation of its entire eastern wing, populated by the majority, is understandable. For a country that was created on the conviction that Muslims is united, India constituted a separate nation bound by faith. The separation of East Pakistan was emotionally shattering. There may be expedient theories still in circulation in Pakistan that Bangladesh was a consequence of sinister Indian designs, but the reality of the civil unrest against Islamabad led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman is undeniable. Nor can opinion in Pakistan be unmindful of the sheer brutality of its military response to the separatist impulses of its own citizens, a saga of blood that ensured there would be no solution short of complete independence. The hyper-nationalists in Pakistan, nurtured on the belief articulated by Field Marshal Ayub Khan in the 1960s, the one Pakistani soldier was equal to 10 Indian Jawans, have also found it difficult to digest the relative ease with which the Indian Army won its emphatic military victory and secured the capture of some 93,000 prisoners of war. That the captives were returned home unharmed after the Shimla Agreement and without India extracting a heavy political price owed much more to misplaced Indian magnanimity than the belief that it was counterproductive to incur the permanent enmity of Pakistan. The Bangladesh were exposed the sheer untenability of the doctrine on which Pakistan had crafted its nationhood after 1947. There was, first, a strong belief in the Pakistan establishment that Bengali speakers were insufficiently Muslim and too infected by Hindu influences. This was at the heart of Muhammad Ali Jinnah's attempt in 1948 to make Urdu the dominant language in the eastern wing of Pakistan. The issue that first eroded faith in a composite Pakistani Muslim nationalism. This desire to eradicate Hindu influence was also behind the systematic targeting of the Hindu minority during the post-March 1971 crackdown and the gruesome murder of intellectuals in the final days before the surrender. That most of the millions of refugees who crossed over into India were primarily Hindus has only now been recognized, thanks to the publication of blood telegram containing the dispatches of the American diplomat based in Dhaka. In any case, after the 1970 election, the Pakistan establishment was in no mood to concede control of the central government to an Awami League, which had secured a total majority that had no representation or support in West Pakistan. Bengali speakers were always the second-class citizens in the land of the pure. Secondly, the defense of East Pakistan was based on a strategy of diversion. The Pakistan military believed that a full-scale, time-bound conflict in the West would concentrate India's entire attention. It would also provide the time to secure international pressure for a ceasefire. Indeed, the Pakistani forces in East Pakistan undertook a desperate holding mission in anticipation of the big powers, notably the US and China, forcing a United Nations-sponsored truce. There was also a small belief that China would do something along its border with India to keep the Eastern Command preoccupied. On its part, the US was also expected to keep India in check, a likelihood that diminished after the Indo-Soviet Friendship Treaty in August 1971. Thirdly, it is important to note the Indian response to the crisis of East Pakistan was never based on the doctrine that Pakistan should be divided. Till fairly late in 1971, as the history by former diplomat Chandrasekhar Dasgupta has demonstrated, the External Affairs Ministry clung to a native belief in the unity of Pakistan. It is the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's credit that she detected and seized a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to put an end to the geographical absurdity of Pakistan. Finally, the seminal contribution of the Awami League leadership and the Mukti Bahini must be acknowledged. The resolve of the Pakistan Army was considerably eroded by the unending guerrilla warfare of the Mukti Bahini. Its military skills may have been uneven, but there is no doubting the bravery and commitment to an independent Bangladesh of those who took up arms against the Khan Sena. Equally, despite blandishments from different quarters, the Awami League leadership, particularly Tajuddin Ahmed, kept its faith in the sincerity of India to act in the interest of Bangladesh. Alas, the doubters lingered in the shadows and got their way in 1975 with the murder of Mujib and the top echelon of the old Awami League. And with this, today I complete my first video on 50 years of independence of Bangladesh, and I have discussed on my first video of 1971 showed two-nation theory based on faith was bound to fail of 50 years of independence of Bangladesh. And in my second video, I will be preparing about the battles that decided the war based on 50 years of independence of Bangladesh. Thanks and have a nice day ahead. Good night to all of you. Have a nice day ahead.